Into Hellfire, a light in the darkness. Celdrunin, Chapter 0, Part 1, A Bitter Goodbye. The night unfurled its malevolent cloak as the wind, relentless and unforgiving, whipped through the ancient forest that wrapped around the walls of Baldur's Gate. It howled with a vengeance like a banshee's wail echoing through the trees. It tore at the gnarled branches and rustled the foliage that carpeted the forest floor. The loose debris tore through the air, carried by gusts so fierce that they snapped branches and felled old, dead wood. Celdrunin, his heart racing and his breath ragged, fled through the heart of the woods. The moon positioned directly overhead, marking the midnight hour. The sun had long since retreated behind the horizon, leaving only the darkness and the cover of the treacherous storm. His path, obscured by the relentless onslaught of rain and foliage, occasionally revealed itself in the flashes when the heavens ignited with blinding bolts of lightning, illuminating the gnarled and ancient trees that stood sentinel over the wilderness. Rain soaked him to the bone. Every inch of his body was drenched, and the once clean leather of his shoes was now caked with mud as he trudged through the puddles that seemed like they would never end in the relentless downpour. His body trembled, but not because of the chill in the air, but rather the icy tendrils of fear that clenched at his heart, rendering his fragile nerves on edge and his hands unsteady. His frantic running came to a momentary pause as he stumbled into the small clearing within the woods. As he stood motionless, the clearing around him was momentarily illuminated by the flashes of lightning overhead. The bursts of light cast eerie shadows as though they felt like they were reaching out for him. Breathing heavily, Celdrunin's legs finally gave way, and he sank to his knees, overcome with emotion. And there, he wept in the rain as it poured down from the heavens and washed over him. In the midst of his despair, a strange serenity descended upon the forest. The wind, as if heeding some mysterious command, gradually subsided, reducing its fury to a gentle, almost mournful breeze. The thunder, once deafening, softened to a distant rumble, and the wilderness around him fell into an eerie hush. With his chest heaving, Celdrunin raised his tear-streaked face, his hand instinctively reaching for the dagger sheathed at his hip. He breathed slowly, and he strained to listen, his eyes wide, darting from tree to tree, searching for whatever may lurk in the shadows beyond. Then, from behind him, the snap of a twig broke beneath the intruder's foot. Swiftly, Celdrunin pivoted toward the source of the sound, fingers tightening around the hilt of his dagger, ready to confront whatever darkness had come upon him. As his gaze locked onto the figure emerging from the shadows, his dagger slipped from his trembling fingers, and his world shattered. Tears blurred his vision as he suppressed his muffled cries.
Father!
The words hung in his throat. As the moonlight pierced through the parting clouds, the figure of a small-statured man stepped into the clearing. A small gnome was illuminated by runes of silvery radiance that propelled the rain as though daring it not to strike him. He appeared more diminutive than usual as he stood amongst the towering trees, but his presence carried an air of wisdom and gravity that contradicted his small size. With a voice that held a blend of concern and disappointment, he spoke.
"Oh, Cel, my boy, look at what you've done."
Celdrunin, still reeling from the shock of his father's unexpected appearance, swallowed hard and met his gaze.
I did what I had to, Father. What I've done tonight cannot be undone. Just know that what I did it for Raven, and she will never have to worry about him again.
Wibnack, Celdrunin's gnomish father, shook his head slowly.
But he was a noble, Cel, a governor's son. Do you understand the gravity of that? What were you thinking? They will not forgive, and they will not forget. You'll be hunted down and hung for your crimes. Just as they may be in your mind, they'll be within their right to do so, and nor me or your mother can save you from that.
Wibnack stepped forward and ran his hand down the side of Cel's face. Celdrunin's gaze remained fixed on his father as he continued.
Father, I could not let Raven suffer under his hand. I could not allow it. Not after everything that we've been through.
Wibnak's eyes softened, and he stepped closer. His hand gently held the side of Celdrunin's face.
You and your sister both didn't have it easy at the beginning. I can definitely attest to that. But your mother and I took you in, and we gave you the best lives that we could. I understand your intent, and I know it was to save your sister's life, but I cannot condone it. I risk judgment just for being here. If the school were to find out that it was my son, I'd lose everything. Yet, I cannot let you leave with nothing. And your mother would skin me alive if she knew that I sent you off into the world with nothing but the clothes on your back and a bit of gold in your pocket.
With a swift movement, Wibnak removed his hooded cape, a solid white garment adorned with an intricate red lining. He draped it over Celdrunin's shoulders, the fabric settling like a protective shroud around him. Then, he produced a small coin purse, offering it to his son.
Take it. Keep your face hidden. Do not let people know who you are. You and your sister have a gift that many would kill to have, and they will, if you give them the chance. Use it to your advantage. Go far from here, and start something new. A new life, with new friends.
Tears welled up in Celdrunin's eyes as he opened his mouth to speak.
Go now.
Wibnak quickly interrupted with a sense of urgency.
You haven't a time to waste. They'll be searching for you, if they haven't already begun.
With one final push, Wibnak pressed the coin bag firmly into Celdrunin's hands and shoved it against his chest. His voice carried the weight of a father's love and the urgency of a dire situation. Celdrunin swiftly secured the coin bag to his belt and slid it into his pocket, assuring that it was tucked away safely. Then, with a rush of emotion, he lunged forward and embraced his father tightly.
Thank you. And know that you, Mother, and Raven will always be in my heart and in my mind.
As Celdrunin stepped back from the embrace, his features began to change, and his appearance shifted like the changing tides of destiny. His long ebony hair shortened and transformed into a close-cut blonde. His skin shed its patchy black and white pattern and emerged with a clean, light tan. His eyes, once a somber gray, now sparkled with a vibrant shade of green. Wibnak smiled as he looked over at the face of a man that he did not know standing before him. With the white cloak still draped around Cel and the hood concealing his altered features, he looked over his shoulder towards the woods and then to his father once more.
It looks good on you. I always dreamed you'd wear it one day. Just not quite like this. Now go. We've talked enough, and the forest is deep and full of terrors.
A silent understanding passed between them. With a single nod, he turned away and sprinted into the darkness of the woods. Yet, as soon as he crossed the threshold of the clearing and plunged back into the wilderness, the silent and peaceful respite that he had previously enjoyed vanished. The storm reclaimed him with a vengeance, and its fury unabated. Cel thought to look backwards towards his father one last time, but was quickly subdued by the ringing of bells in the city behind him. He knew at that moment that he hadn't the time for such luxuries, as he pushed forward and ran as fast as he could into the night, away from everything and everyone that he had ever known.